Good morning, and I would like to discuss a few things having to do with crossbows. The first one is as far as draw lengths, and this was brought up in the question. Hello, Nick. And he was wondering about the efficiency or the increased power that a crossbow would have given a 16-inch draw length. As far as experimenting with this, you don't necessarily even have to have all of this stuff. You could just work with, let me grab the frog bow as an example. You could just work with your bows. You could take, you really need to have a number of bows of different draw weight, because as we all know, the further back a bow is drawn, the heavier it is. And so, shook the wrong hand to the wrong person and got a cold. Where was I? That a single bow, if you were to test it, 4.5, 6, 8, 16-inch, 24-inch draw length, would actually be a different bow for each one of those, because you'd have a different draw weight. And so it would be best, if you're going to plot your graphs, to have a variety of bows of different draw weights. So when you're plotting the graphs, you're going to get a better idea of it. After you mark your arrows with different draw lengths measured, it's important to measure the draw weight for that. This isn't strung, so pardon the weird looks. As you measure it at each one of those things, the weight with your little bow scale, and then saw how far they shot, and then marked it using the same arrow with all of them, plotted that on your graph, you would get an idea, a rough idea, because there's so many different variables here, as far as the efficiency given different draw lengths. So you don't even need to have a crossbow for this. You can just grab your bows from 20 pounds to 50 pounds and just plot them at different lengths, the different weights at each one of the lengths for those bows, and construct your mathematical structure from that. I might actually do that sometime. I believe that I have a few bows laying around here of different weights, and that would be an interesting experiment. That would absolutely be interesting. Now on to my bow. I have installed, it's actually just sitting on here, the Osage Orange and sinew back prod. And it's actually 11 inches shorter than that little elm one, or ash one I was using yesterday. And so it's going to be like a night and day between the performance of this one and that little ash one. I can hardly wait. Now in the meantime, what I did is I installed wedges here on the back. Sinew wrap. Sinew's not dry yet, I just did it a little while ago. And then took sinew and wrapped on my rawhide Midland wraps. Now those, in conjunction with the sinew, hopefully if this thing explodes, it's not going to like throw shards of pointy wood all over the place, so it'll be relatively safe in the case, stupid cold, of an explosion. Now this is going to be a lot harder to just get the darn string on here than that little weak ash bow. And so this is why I have these wedges on there. Let me find, here it is, my means of stringing this thing. Now I knotted this. This is just knotted on the stringing string. It'll have a little metal hook there, so I can just unhook it that way. But this stuff, this loop will fit over these. And the one I'm going to actually use for stringing it's going to be a different length. It's not going to be hanging down here so much. But this gives you an idea that I can simply then span this, hook that string onto my little edge, which will allow me to then put the real string. There's probably a name for crossbow strings. I'm just going to call it a string. It'll just go through here, hook over that, and then I just unhook this one. This one again is tied, so I'm not doing it that same way. And I will now have a braced crossbow. That's the first step. The next step is actually spanning this thing, getting that crossbow's, that prod string over this little ledge there, so it's spanned and ready to shoot. I keep talking about carving a ball here. Well, that's more than just an aesthetic thing, it's a safety thing. Because picture, if you have a stirrup on this and you are yanking this thing back and something happens, your foot slips or stirrup comes off or something bad happens, it's going to drive that end right through you. And that's that ball that they had on those things sometimes. It's rare, you know, because a lot of times they're using spanners. Would be a safety feature. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near this pointy end when it comes back to me. Therefore, this shall not be spanned by this method, hooking it through a stirrup and then yanking it back. I am going to have a lever. It's not going to be a goat's foot that there's pegs here and then you hook the thing on here and then you yank it back and it spans it. I'm going to use a thing called a gaff spanner. I think it's called a gaff spanner. I shall weave a ring into the front. Just right there, simple. I have the cordage that goes around here, and I can do an X pattern on the front. I can easily put a ring there, hook it in there. So I've got a ring there. And that's all I need to hook the gaff spanner, which is primary lever, a big lever that goes right here, with a hook that goes over that ring. And then along the length of that, let's just say right here, there's a fort lever arm that hooks onto the string, and you pull this back and it spans it that way. The nice thing is I am nowhere near this end. If something happens, I'm not really within any plane that's going to cause me that much harm. So that is how I'm going to string this thing. It's a stiff little monster. I'm not going to push down that greatly, but I bet I could lift myself up on this thing and not flex it all the way down. Even now, before this sinew is fully cured, I noticed a difference in stiffness. And it's just going to keep increasing over the next month. It's about time, now that I've got the sinew wraps on all this stuff, I'll take it to a friend's house and stick it on his drying rack above his wood stove and just let it bake for a while. A note, I'm going to do a close-up of this bolt clip. As time passes, it keeps getting this weird curve into it, so I am going to make another one. But on the other one, I am not going to finish the final tuning of it, straightening it, you know, working it down to its final dimensions. I'm going to let it sit for a while and get stable, and then I'm going to shape it. I'm also going to make a bending form, piece of wood, drill holes, put pegs in there. So after I bake this, boiling doesn't really work. Got to bake it at higher than 200 degrees for a little while to get it hot. Slip it in that little bending form and just let it sit there. So I am going to make another one of these, which will help. You don't want to have that curviness in here. It's going to mess up your aim. As far as wooden prods, my last bit will be on possibility that there were a lot more wooden prods on crossbows than the historical record shows. It's entirely possible that they met the same fate as a lot of the old military weapons, such as the white ash warbows that we don't see a lot, and the elms, just kind of disappeared into the mists of history. I do believe that there were a lot more wooden prodded crossbows with greater power strokes, greater draw lengths than the metal ones. They just don't exist anymore. They disappeared. They were wood. Battles are rough places that a lot of information was lost. Yes, there was a lot of metal prodded crossbows. The historical record shows that. They show up in armories, the original ones. But I do believe that a lot of information has been lost over time just because wood dissolves. Laying on the ground is just gone. And so I do believe that there were probably a lot more wooden prodded crossbows used in battles, used as castle defenses, longer draw lengths, making, let's just say, a 150-pound wooden crossbow prod with a longer draw length equal to a heavier metal crossbow prod with a much shorter draw length. I think it's entirely possible. I guess I should also include the last bit that if you are interested in this, look up the Asian crossbows. The horn on the belly side, sinew on the back side, true composite bows. Heavy bows with very long draw lengths compared to the metal prodded European ones. And given a true bow with a long draw length, then you start exceeding the potential as far as the power and the distances you can shoot, exceeding the potential of bows with crossbows. With that, I shall say thank you. I hope you've gotten some ideas if you're considering making your own bows. Occasionally I get comments about people asking me about backings, alternatives to sinew, because they just don't, they're intimidated by sinew. My big advice is don't allow it to be intimidating. Sinew back, it's simple, it's simple. Even a single layer like this will benefit you greatly, and gosh, a single layer, this one, took me probably an hour, if that, to put the stuff on the back. Have a good one, and thank you for watching.